Good morning, people of God. We are grateful to God for this morning that He has given to us. This is John Jue Elias coming to us on 119, and today we would want to sing Gambling and Betting Saga. Gambling and Betting Saga here in Kenya. Today I will do quite a narration so that you get the necessary information to be able to make your decision concerning major sports companies or betting companies that we have here in Kenya. We do have SportPesa, we do have PayFans, we do have betting, we do have Bet Power, we do have Betika, we do have Sportmania, and others are Kenya Charity Sweepstake and Lotto. All these are involved in gambling or betting activities, and therefore they make betting industry or gambling industry. The directors of Betting Kenya are Leandro Giovando and Domenico Giovando, who were deported and later denied entry back into Kenya despite holding valid investor work permits last year. The two were among the 27 firms whose licenses were withdrawn in July last year over alleged tax non-compliance. SportPesa and Betting fought the tax demands, which the Kenya Revenue Authority (KRA) claimed they were owed in arrears under 2018 revenue laws in court. They were given tax compliance certificates for the previous year only for the government to demand more money from them. While some of the other suspended firms later had their licenses reinstated, both SportPesa and Betting to date have not. They saw them shut their Kenyan operations in September last year, rendering hundreds of Kenyans jobless. The biggest blow was felt in the local football league after SportPesa withdrew from sponsorship deals, citing the hostile taxation and operating environment. Before its withdrawal, SportPesa had waged a public relations campaigns in the media, reportedly claiming in a series of full-page newspapers adverts that they had collected Kenya shillings 20 billion in revenues in 2018, had made 9 billion in gross profits, and paid 6.4 billion in taxes. They also claimed to have invested a total of 1.37 billion shillings in local clubs, that is football clubs, and a further 1.1 million shillings in other socio-economic causes, including 41 million shillings in community health. Now, in February this year, SportPesa also withdrew from its international sponsorship commitments, but let's leave that. According to the data, Bet Power since closed, and Sporty Belt, still operational, completed the top 5. Bet Power argued in Parliament that its director, Nicolia Barnwell, had a valid investor permit and was included in the deportation list, which had 17 foreign directors of betting firms operating in Kenya erroneously. Betika appeared to be the only company in the former top 5 that was majorly owned by foreign investors. It is owned by Beverly Technologies Limited, whose directors are John Michemi Muthuro and Sophia Nyarora Gichohi. The company is not linked on the online campaign registry research or search. A surprise entry in the top 5 sport belt has flown beneath the radar until now. Its directors are Jail Ashok Mahatani and Sudhir Ramesh Ramani. Their nationality is unknown. A source who has worked in a senior management position in one of the smaller companies said that firms who operate from physical shops where bets are wagered in cash can potentially get away with underdeclared revenue by up to 80%. The source, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said it was much harder for mobile and online betting companies to underdeclare their revenues because of the digital trail left by betting authorities on their servers. However, the sheer number of bets and regulators' inability to access the data in real time mean that significant underdeclaring is also possible for digital firms. Other experts who have viewed the data point out that one would need to know companies' operating costs and taxes paid in order to calculate their profitability. Further obscuring their true profitability, some betting companies have set up related companies in countries where there is little or no publicly available information about how much money they derive from the operations in Kenya and how this is accounted for. Sports Pesa, for example, set up a holding company in the island of Man, while Betting's biggest shareholder was a company incorporated in Mauritius. Betting, particularly on sport, exploded in Kenya from the mid-2010s onwards, finding fertile ground among a youthful populace who combine sport mania and digital savvy. That's why we are concerned. By 2019, betting was impossible to ignore, and that is true. Last year, it was everywhere in our mass media, as firms such as Sport Pesa and Betting plowed millions back into blanket advertising campaigns and high-profile sports sponsorships. But concerns about the prevalence of betting addiction, particularly among unemployed youth, also grew. Mr. Mbwile, a campaigner for stricter reforms in the industry, saying that the government should now turn its attention away from the industry as a source of tax revenue and gear its efforts towards public health and welfare, especially in this COVID-19 era when isolation and boredom will increase gambling participation and fuel gambling addiction. So we have now COVID-19, so a lot of these things will increase, and possibly that's why we are talking about these things. Now let's talk a little bit about the shareholding of some of these companies here. The other two largest shareholders, Nowgen Investment, U.S. company incorporated in Delaware, and Asinath Wasera Miner, who owns a 21% stake each. This stake was previously owned by Guinea Grant, a U.S. citizen who is now just listed as a director. Wasera is a Kenyan and the widow of a former Nairobi mayor, Dickson Wathika. She has also kept a very low profile on the farm. Billionaire Paul Wandera Ndongo owns a 17% stake, who built his fortune as a Safaricom distributor, was the farm's board chairman till December last year, when insiders say he stepped down. But the farm is yet to publicly name his replacement, but it must come from one of the top shareholders of the company. Mr. Dongo was the chairman of the Friends of Jubilee Foundation Technical Committee that raised billions for the party in the run-up to 2017 election. Other shareholders are Ronald Karauri, who is the firm's chief executive officer. He owns a 7% stake. Mr. Karauri is a former Kenya Airways pilot. Other small shareholders are Valentine Nicorawera Vinera, and then Robert Kenneth Wanyoike Macharia, and then Peter Kehanya Moiroli, who owns 1% of this particular company, and Francis Waweru Carrier, also 1%. So you can see the saga that has been there in Kenya. Possibly it's because they served their purpose of contributing to a political party, and then ownership. Some of these people that are mentioned as owners of this now Sports Pesa company and other companies, they are relatives to some of these people that are in government today. So, folks, it is good to be careful. Things don't just happen. There is a hand behind things, and we need to be careful not to indulge ourselves into things. Tomorrow we shall be seeing other data and details on how the finance of betting companies really affected the Kenyan common person. They say at least 170 shillings per each Kenya citizen were used last year in betting. 180 million participants in this sports gambling took place last year. Now my question is, from that 170 shillings per each individual, including those that were born then, how much is your stake? How much did you play? Maybe you played 50 lotto. Maybe you played Sport Pesa, Sport Mania. Maybe you bought a 20 bob Kenya charity sweepstake. Did you contribute in any way to this industry or into this saga? We will look at more scriptures that tell us we ought to use proper means to get what we need to get, not to employ, not to use an orthodox means to get even a shilling or an extra coin. We as believers must come out and know what is right and push away that which is wrong and use that which God has given to us, hands and minds, to use orthodox means to earn our living. In this COVID-19 saga, a lot of people have lost jobs, but they can get to work. They can get to do things with their hands, and God is faithful. He will bless them, and God is faithful. He will sustain them, and God is faithful. He will bless the works of their hands. He is the one that gives us wisdom to get wealth in the right manner. Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 18. He gives us wealth so as to establish his covenant. So if you be faithful with the hands that God has given you, with the mind that God has given you, with the abilities that God has given to you, and you be genuine in your means of earning a livelihood, God will bless the works of your hands. Deuteronomy 28. God will bless the works of your hands. So let's use our hands legally, lawfully, rightly, legally, rightly. And once we do that, God will bless us. Until we meet tomorrow, the Lord be with you. Amen. Maranatha.